The Weimar Republic. It was the name for Germany after World War I. But how did it lead to Adolf Hitler and the Nazi dictatorship? What really happened in the Weimar Republic? To understand this, let's look back at the final months of World War I. Nearing the end of World War I, the Germans wanted the war to end immediately. Britain's naval blockade took a toll on the people, and the Germans were overall disappointed by its government. The November Revolution helped speed up the process of ending the war. The revolution, which started in Kiel in 1918, was caused by revolt by sailors of the German High Seas Fleet that refused to set sail for the last battle against the Royal Navy in the English Channel. They had no intentions of being sacrificed in the last moments of war. The revolt spread throughout Germany and turned into a revolution that seized military and civil powers in cities. Because of the fact that Allies were advancing toward the German Western Front and Austria-Hungary was falling apart along with the November Revolution, Kaiser Wilhelm abdicated. This marked the end of the First German Empire and the beginning of the Weimar Republic. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was written. It massively reduced the German military and made them pay substantial war reparations, nearly 50 billion marks, to the Allies. In addition to all of this, Germany became 13.3% smaller in its European territory, and the Allies occupied Rhineland. The most important part of the Treaty of Versailles was the War Guilt Clause. It blamed Germany for starting the war. It states, "The Allied and the associated governments affirm and Germany accepts the responsibility of Germany and her allies for causing all the loss and damage to which the Allied and associated governments and their nationals have been subjected as a consequence of the war imposed upon them by the aggression of Germany and her allies." This war guilt clause was intentionally used to compel Germany to pay reparations. Not only did it make Germany agree to pay the reparations, but it also gave the German people national disgrace and humiliation. During World War I, the Kaiser and the German government decided to pay the large costs of war by borrowing money and suspending the convertibility of its currency to gold. This led to the devaluation of the mark to the US dollar from 4.2 to 8.91. Because of the Treaty of Versailles after the war, Germany had huge reparations that could only be paid in gold or foreign currency. The government decided to mass print bank notes to buy the foreign currency. This increased the speed at which the paper mark, the German currency, declined in value. Because the mark was basically worthless in January of 1923, the French and Belgian troops occupied Ruhr, the industrial region of Germany, to ensure that Germany would pay the reparations in goods. The German government ordered the workers in Ruhr to go on a strike, and the government in return printed more money to continue paying them for passively resisting. As the value of notes decreased, the amount of notes needed to buy things grew. At its peak in November of 1923, the value of one gold mark in paper marks was 1 trillion. Fun fact: some Germans were suffering from a compulsion called zero stroke. It was a condition where the person has a desire to write endless rows of zeros. Because of the speed of hyperinflation, the German people had to calculate and recalculate commercial transactions in billions and trillions. During the worst period of hyperinflation, the time it took to drink a cup of coffee, the price for that cup could double. How did the hyperinflation end? It was due to the introduction of the Rentenmark. The Reich Bank, the German central bank, stopped monetizing government debt, and the Rentenmark was issued. In November of 1923, the Reich Bank decided to make 1 trillion paper mark equal to 1 Rentenmark. Hjalmar Schacht, the Reich Bank president, later stabilized the paper mark against the US dollar. The Reich Bank made 4.2 trillion paper mark equal to 1 US dollar. And since 1 trillion paper mark was equal to 1 Rentenmark, the exchange rate was 4.2 Rentenmark for 1 US dollar. This was the same exchange rate between the Reichsmark and the US dollar before World War I. In the midst of the economic crisis in the Weimar Republic, the nation saw relative stability under Gustav Stresemann, the Chancellor of Germany, in 1923. German literature, cinema, theater, and musical works entered a phase of great creativity. Cabaret and jazz bands became popular. Arts were influenced by Impressionists, Expressionists, and Cubists from painters in Paris. Several items were invented in Germany, such as the table lamp by Christian Dill and the side chair by Mies van der Rohe. An important film to come out during this time was Metropolis, which paralleled the Weimar Republic. It represented society's desire to break class ranks and seek equality within a fascist state. However, in 1929, Stresemann died of a heart attack, and in October, the New York Stock Exchange crashed, both of which resulted in the end of the Golden Twenties. The Weimar Republic was not popular amongst the various political groups. There was opposition from two different groups, the left wing and the right wing. In Germany, the left wing believed in equality, power to the workers, abolition of private property, and internationalism. These left wings were also known as socialists. They wanted a revolution in Germany and wanted to replace the Weimar Republic. They also wanted to give power to the workers. The right wings wanted a strong government, capitalism, and nationalism. They believed that the country was more important than the individual. Right wings were also known as fascists or Nazis. The right wings disliked the Weimar Republic, especially the Social Democrats, whom they blamed Germany's defeat in World War I and the Treaty of Versailles. The right wing hated the left wings and wanted the return of the Kaiser to make Germany great again. The right wing supported the army, businessmen, and landowners. The right-wing Nazis during the decline of the Weimar Republic were the single largest party in the nation. After the New York Stock Exchange crashed and left millions unemployed in Germany, Hitler, now the leader of the Nazi Party, asked Hindenburg, the president of the Weimar Republic, if he could become the chancellor. Hindenburg refused and let the current chancellor, Papen, continue on as chancellor. However, Papen wasn't well liked and an election took place for chancellorship. The Nazi Party's share in votes decreased during this election, which left Hitler sad, and he even threatened to kill himself if he didn't become chancellor. Hindenburg again refused and instead appointed Schleicher, his advisor, as chancellor. Schleicher wasn't well liked either. So what happened was that Papen, the previous chancellor, met with rich industrialists and came up with an idea. They would appoint Hitler as chancellor and have Papen as vice-chancellor. Papen would control Hitler like a puppet. Hindenburg agreed to this idea and Hitler became chancellor. Hitler does not like to be treated as a puppet and uses the Enabling Act, which basically gave him the right to rule without going to parliament. This marks the end of the Weimar Republic and the beginning of the Third Reich.
That's all, folks.